Hello, and welcome to my first YouTube video. I will be sharing my journey as a developer and how I overcome some of the hurdles I have encountered in my projects. Today, I will be sharing my Gmail Oauth2 setup for Mail.ly, my mail client desktop app built with React and Python. This project is far from done, but hopefully this segment can help some of the devs out there. So some of the pre-setup, you will need to have a Google Console account and enable Web Oauth to gain access to a client ID and secrets. Also, under Web Oauth, you will need to add localhost 5000 to the authorized redirect URIs. So in this project, I have been using eel, which is a Python library, kind of like Electron, to make desktop apps with a JavaScript front end, but instead of using Node as the back end, I will be using Python. So I forgot to mention that you will need to initialize the eel window. So you will be using these two lines to export eel to initialize the WebSocket instance. And you also need to add the script tag to initialize the JS file that I will link in the description. First, we create a few constants here to help create the auth URL. We use the code for response type because we'll be using that code to gain access to the authorized token in the Python segment. Second, we need to gain access to a few of the APIs. So in the scope, we will share those APIs here. So the first API gains access to the email for Gmails, and also this mail link here will gain access to the IMAP mail server. And you also need to place in your client ID, that redirect URI, the state can be blank. So once we have those, we can build out our auth URL, which we will open in a new window using this line here. So I will eventually show all this when I open my app and demonstrate, but for now, I will keep moving forward. So once this window opens and the auth link is registered, we will run the authorized Python function. So here is the Python function referenced in the React front end. And first we need to set up the WebSocket. So this WebSocket references IPv4 with this inet command here and socket streaming. So once we bind with the host and the port, host is empty because we're using localhost, and 5000 for the reference to that localhost 5000 that we authorized in our Google Cloud console. So once we start listening, we can accept the connection to decode the bytes that are coming in, so we can actually get that code from the authorized URL that we sent from the React side. So once we get that byte string, then we can further parse to get the code that we want. So once we have that code, we can finally fetch the user data from the API using some of these requests. So to send the request, we need to insert our client ID, client secret, that URI, and a grant type of authorized code, which we use the code that we parsed from the auth URL. And just a side note, this code only gets initialized and read in once you actually sign in to your Gmail. So once you click the sign in to Gmail button, you'll be sent to that window that you will need to log into your Gmail account. And once you finally log in, then it will do this process to actually gain that information and then send it back to the React front end. So now that we have the data we can send, we need to create a post request to fetch the Oauth token so that we can actually gain access to the user info using that access token. And once we use this link and the access token here, we are loading in that token from this previous request to actually get the email here. And once we have both of those user info data, you can send that back to the front ends. So here I have my very basic Maily login screen, and when we connect Gmail, here is that auth URL that pops up, and this is where we gain access to this code here that will be sent to the Python side and finish the request to fetch the token and the rest of the user info. So since I've logged into this a million times, so you can see here that I've actually logged into my app. There's no emails here right now. Here I can start fetching some emails because I don't have it cached right now, so each time I need to fetch. But you will need to actually, it'll say log into your Gmail account, and once you log in, then it'll be sent to this URL, which your Python side can actually fetch this and complete the rest of the setup to gain access to the rest of your app.